Okay, so today we're talking about scaling an industry most investors deem the hardest. And we have an exceptional guest that can speak on every aspect of this. Across from me is Mike DeNorsha. He's built Great and Great Collective to over 250 team members, and they're on track to hit over 20 million revenue this year. He's also scaled Broken Yolk Cafe to over 5 locations across California and Arizona since 2013. Mike, thanks for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. Weather's amazing. And since we're in Broken Yolk Cafe, your flagship location in Irvine, I wanted to start off by asking, you actually bought your first Broken Yolk Cafe in 2013 as an investment. You never had intention of running it yourself. What changed in the process?
Yeah, I mean, that's right. So if I kind of backtrack, I initially started out, well, actually I started on food sales. I'm an East Coaster from the Philadelphia area. I started on food sales. And I got, at the time, at the company that I was with, transferred me out here. Had a friend that was out here, my best friend from high school.
Yeah.
And, when I got out here, just kind of realized I couldn't make ends meet continuing if I was going to do that with the cost of living in California. So I ended up getting into the real estate business. And it was I was actually looking at ads on businesses for sale. And one thing kind of led to another, and I got connected to a guy. We started a company ultimately called Location Matters. And we did business transactional sales, and then we also did tenant leasing of restaurants. So from that experience, started to invest in some clients. And then in 2013, made an investment in Broken Yolk Cafe. And we started out pretty rough. We opened our first store in Orange. We struggled really for the first 3 to 6 months, trying to figure things out with the operator that we had. And ultimately I ended up kind of stepping in, and, worked the restaurant, learned the business. It really took us probably a year to 2 years to kind of really dial things in. And I was fortunate along the way. I had a mentor who was an investor, who had experience as a financial person within the industry that really kind of helped guide me. And then I found McKenna, who you met earlier, and she was serving at the restaurant and now is our director of operations.
Wow.
But she has been fantastic and really understands the culture and what I'm about, and I get her, and it's been a good partnership that way. So that's how we kind of ended up in the operational business.
I love it. And look at where you guys are at right now.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful location.
Yeah. I mean, even better yet, the weather.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Perfect today. I wanted to dive into a little bit about your background culturally. Obviously, I know you're Italian, and family, faith, and food are very closely stitched into that. So I'm curious, how much of who you are today comes from that?
I mean, it's everything. And there's definitely different layers to it. I think one of the most important things, and I've shared this with a lot of people, but I had a really tight relationship with my father. And one of the really kind of important things I think I got from him was there was always some type of evolution, right? Some type of getting better, working on something thing with him. And family, he really emphasized the family first. So that was something, as I grew up and got older, was really important to me, was to be able to do that. And then just in the last 5 or 10 years, I've really understood the importance of faith in what I'm doing and in my life. And that's been an evolution for me. Faith was a part of our lives. I grew up in a Catholic, Italian family. It was a part of our lives, but really understanding it, really being thankful for God and my relationship with Him and Jesus and my faith has been a process for me. So yeah,
absolutely. And I remember on our calls, even when we were meeting, you would mention they have Bible sessions in the morning every single day, very consistent, fixed time allocated too.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
clearly has a big change.
yeah, and it's good. I kind of consider that my reset, right? It's the grounding. For me personally, that's where I find comfort.
Yeah.
And I think that's been really important. The one thing that I got from my dad, in addition to, was he used to say things like, "Remember who you are."
Yeah.
And used to talk about, hey, as a member of this family, I give you a clean slate. and what you
Wow.
do with it reflects on the whole family.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we live with a set of values at Grain and Grit,
Yeah.
and that's what helps to perpetuate our culture.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've got caring and kindness, we have authenticity, we have accountability. Those are 3 of the values. We have a total of 5 values,
Mm-hmm.
and we have perseverance and passion. So
love
when we talk about caring and kindness and authenticity, the people we bring into the organization, they either have it or they don't. And generally that's people that I'm comfortable with, and that's who we are, right? And then the perseverance and passion part of it, we do feel like, perseverance is essentially just setting goals and being able to
Yes.
overcome obstacles to achieve your goals.
Mm-hmm.
So we do feel like that can be supported, trained, taught, and helped. There's got to be some motivation initiative around it, but we can help to train and teach and support people in those
Mm-hmm.
in that area. And on the passion side, it's about having purpose.
Absolutely.
And I'm a big fan of just making sure that every day you wake up, you've got something that you love to do, and you've got purpose. Personally for me, it's making sure that people understand you can have balance as it relates to faith, family, and aggressive ambition with business.
Mm-hmm.
You can do all of that, right?
Yeah.
And they can live in harmony to a certain degree. So, yeah. So I hope that,
And coffee.
and coffee. You got to have coffee.
We can't
It's a
forget
must, yeah.
coffee. And speaking of experiences, accumulating expertise in this space, all investors, as we know, deem restaurants as the hardest space to grow and scale. You knew that going in, though. You spent years finding real estate for restaurants and financing their deals before you ever ran one. What did you already know that made first-time operators don't figure out until year 3, I would say? What's that one thing you knew prior?
Um, what did I already know? Well, I would preface it by starting that I knew nothing. And, sometimes the way that works out is you jump into things that you probably shouldn't, and you've got to figure it out, right? So there was a big part of that for me, that I thought I knew more than I did, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And I think people, it's important that you embrace that. I tell the kids that I coach that failure's not fatal, right? It's one step closer to success. That's what we talk about, right?
Mm.
So in my case, we opened a restaurant, we were struggling, and like had to jump in and kind of work through it. And I had good mentorship along the way.
Yeah.
I think what I have a good and do have a good understanding of is the guest experience, and specifically just about people, and what it takes to make people smile. I think at the end of the day, that's how we're measured. It's not sales, it's not check averages. It's really about, the guest that comes in our door, are they smiling, and are they having a good experience?
I love it. And talking about your capacity and your ability to do things, obviously you're very busy and we only have a certain amount of time in life to work on what we love. You've got 7 locations across Broken Yolk Cafe and Carnitas,
Mm-hmm.
Shake Shack, Snack Shack.
Yep. Carnitas Snack
And
Shack,
you've
yeah.
evaluated dozens of acquisition targets. How do you decide what to build, what to franchise, and what to walk away from?
Yeah, well, I mean, first you got to have a clear, defined box, right? And I think as I've matured as a person and also in business, that's kind of gotten narrower, right, in terms of the things that we'll accept. That's the first piece. And when you're building a restaurant, you're looking for a specific return metric, on the investment. It's gotten a lot harder over the years because the cost of construction has gone up.
Yes.
So, trying to find good sites that can produce the revenue and not chase revenue. So if you have a mean and an average of what a typical store would do, you can't really say, okay, well, that store's going to do 30 or 40% more because it's hard to predict that, right?
Yeah.
So generally, I'd say you have to be conservative on new development when it comes to restaurants. I've tried to make sure that we're not over leveraged, so we're not putting ourselves in a position where if something doesn't work, it's going to sink the entire ship.
Very interesting.
So having just consistent thought around that. And then as we're looking at some new acquisitions, like we're in the process of acquiring some Phoenix salons as a franchisee. We're looking at some other brands as potential investment and acquisition opportunities. We've got a real well-defined box. Primarily, we are looking at concepts that can produce at least $500,000 in EBITDA. and we're trying to find less intensive operations. So a little bit of diversification across the brand.
Yep.
That's important to us. And I would say the final piece in the mix of the numbers is it's got to fit who we are. It's got to fit our value system, the culture of the brand, the people that are involved in it. You know, it's gotta be a good match there. You know, we gotta want to wake up every single day and do that business. You know, if you don't, then it's just, it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a lot of numbers and stats you look at. Obviously, when we first met, you mentioned that you're very stats driven. And most restaurants, I would say, fail not because of the food is bad. A lot of times because the numbers don't make sense. What is one number that you look at every restaurant that you feel like, or every deal that you feel like is most important when you're evaluating?
I mean, yeah, we have sales, we've got you know, labor and controllable costs and all that stuff. At the end of the day, for me, it's traffic. And the way I think about looking at traffic specifically, and you can look at check counts for traffic, but I'm not talking about that kind of traffic. I'm talking about how many reviews are we getting on a consistent basis, and what's the quality of those reviews.
Okay.
So that's to me, you know, and we're consistent in looking at that daily and weekly. You know, if people are coming in the door and they're having a great experience, and more people are coming in the door, then we're doing our job, and the restaurant generally should be successful. So that's kind of what it boils down to.
Do you look at a graph of a region with like the foot traffic heat maps to figure out which locations, which streets have the highest foot traffic consistently? Or when you're measuring foot traffic?
I mean, we have measurables, and there's different reports like PlayShare that can share, like, honestly, it's gotten pinpointed down to like cell phone data, right? Like who's coming to and from, and you know, are they coming from LA Fitness? Are they coming from the Target? Like, you know, are they coming from home? So there's measurables in there. I think we have to have enough for Broken Yolk is a breakfast and lunch concept, right? So we have to have enough of a daytime population aside from just overall population density to make the site work for us in this concept. So that's, you know, that's really important. You know, aside from that, and our marketing, you know, our senior marketing manager, Cassie, has done a fantastic job of this, which is understanding that the metrics that we have from a marketing perspective, we need to be as close to a daily basis on those metrics as possible. So, you know, so we are methodical on tracking not only return on our investment from a marketing perspective, but more importantly, you know, what's the rankings on the different sites like Google? You know, how many reviews are we getting? What's the quality of those reviews? You know, we track things like who's touching our websites. Like those are metrics, and we've got a long list of them that we review. You know, we're consistent with a Tuesday meeting, and we go through them every Tuesday. And Cassie's done a fantastic job, so we can understand what our scorecard needs to look like there.
I love it. So many details, and then it all matters. They all accumulates to matter. So it's very important that you pay attention to all those things. Now, setting aside wins for a moment, I want to ask, what is the year that almost broke you? And how did you recover from that? What did you learn? Walk me through that time. This all happens. Every entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's hard to say that I've had a year that almost broke me, but it's a good question. I think there's been moments, right? I think two probably stand out specifically. I think one was 2020. You know, I lost my dad, so that was hard, kind of early in the year.
I'm sorry.
And thank you. And then, you know, COVID throughout was challenging. You know, I'd shared with somebody today, there was a lot of great things about COVID in terms of family. You know, being able to spend time, and the world kind of shut down and all that. I think everybody, but you know, there were definitely challenges in terms of, and I think it challenged my decision making, and I didn't always make the right decisions, but I think a lot of people could say that, and you have to learn from it. You know, last year was, the beginning of last year and the year prior were probably, if I wouldn't say break me, but I would say that they were the most challenging. We had a food hall venture that we were in since 2018. We came out, opened strong. We're super excited about the business, had some great partnerships in it. And when COVID hit, it really changed the environment in the market that we're in Little Italy in San Diego. And the business took a toll, and we tried to kind of do all kinds of different things, and it just didn't work. So we had to shut that down. And there's uncertainty as it relates to the financial parts of that, which is challenging. But for me, the gravity of people in it is probably the most difficult thing. And I think sometimes it feels like people will look at you and think, well, that's the owner, and he doesn't care, he's shutting it down, he's moving on. But it's a lot more complicated than that, right? And if you really care about people, which I do, and I believe as an organization we do, it's in our value system. Then every conversation I have, it's got to be a difficult conversation. In that case, we had people that were no longer employed with us, that had been with us for a period of time. It was really challenging. It was really difficult. On the bright side, and the thing that I think every business owner has to deal with is you have to make tough decisions for the longevity of the business and for the goodwill of the entire team. So, in closing that business down, it did shift our focus to the rest of our businesses and gave us the ability to really drive some things and improve those businesses so that we could create a better experience for our team members there. And so that's been a really positive part of it. We got really a lot more fundamentally sound
Yeah.
in what we were doing. And that's paid dividends, again, for the team, for our guests, and for the financials as well.
Yeah. Because after all, you want to work out overall. So some people may think that, oh, you're just a founder, you're just an owner, you don't care about it. But deep down, you want it to work. But it's about opportunity costs and the trade-offs. And that's a choice you have to come up with in the end. So it is.
Yeah, yeah, and I think on the surface of it, people think about the ego aspect of it, right? Like, if you have an ego about, being a business person or whatever that may be, or I'm a restaurant guy or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't view it that way. I think that, I'm in this business because I care about people, and it's an opportunity to share my passion and purpose with the team members and our overall organization and our guests.
Yeah.
So when I think about it that way,
Yeah.
what hurts me most is when things don't go well. I'm then thinking about that impact, right? I want to have positive impact. When it's negative impact, that's challenging, to deal with. So,
For sure. For sure.
and getting back to what are we looking at moving forward, I'm much more diligent, and comes with maturity and patient in
Yeah.
saying no to a lot more, and saying yes to select few that I can assure that we have a good, strong foundation. We're going to continue to grow the right way.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now I want to shift over to the exciting future plans and growth that you have in place for Broken Yolk. I want to get this right, so I'm going to read this. You're actively working a Phoenix expansion right now. 3 sites are in play. What is the one signal that made you pull the trigger on a new market? And what's the one signal that makes you walk away no matter how good the numbers look?
Okay. Yeah. So let me start with the what made us interested in the market.
Yeah.
It's not a secret. California is a really difficult environment to do business in, and I think most people that will talk about it, just from a labor perspective and from governmental perspective, it's a challenging environment.
Yeah.
So, but there are some real benefits to being here, and we've got a really sound business here, and we're going to continue to grow here. But when we looked at kind of what's next for Broken Yolk, we're a franchisee, and there was only so much available territory.
Yes.
So we started looking around, and I think for us, we want to be in markets that we can get to relatively easily within a day. And Phoenix was one of them. We looked at Nevada. We looked at, we're still looking in Utah as well. But we really fell in love with Phoenix. Just there's a tremendous amount of growth out there in terms of the population. If you spend time out there, you can see it from one side to the other. And it's a good friendly business environment. So I was out probably about a month ago, and we were doing some tours, and specifically, I met up with the city of Surprise, and we met up with the city of Goodyear, and I was just honestly blown away. Like they took the time, really in short notice, I got a full tour of Surprise, and Goodyear was
Oh,
extremely
wow.
welcoming, and
Mhm.
just, we want to be where people want us there, right?
Absolutely.
Um, so, um, so yeah, so what really intrigued us was really the business environment there and the growth,
Yep.
right, of the marketplace. And so we have all of Maricopa County. We are looking right now at a handful of sites. Ideally, we can build. We've got an agreement to build another 6, and
Mhm.
we'll build more if there's, if there's the
Wow.
ability to do that. In Orange County, we've got 2 or 3 sites that we're looking at, and ideally, we'd like to build another maybe 2 to 4 in Orange County. We find the right real estate. And then the other question was, on the flip side, what would turn me off about a market?
Yes. Where you're like, "Oh, I wanna avoid that. That's not worth our time or no potential."
Yeah. Um, I mean, first and foremost, there's gotta be enough people concentrated in an area.
Restaurants, you gotta
Yeah,
eat.
yeah,
People eat.
there has to be the right amount of concentration, and our costs have gone up pretty significantly, not just to build the restaurant, but also to operate them. So you have to be able to achieve a certain level of sales volume at the unit level.
Yeah.
So that's a big important piece of it. I think I would just go back to, yeah, we want business friendly environments, so people that are excited to have us there.
Yeah.
And if and then we've got to be able to find, I guess the last part of it, we got to be able to find real estate that pencils, right?
Mhm.
So, generally in a restaurant business, your occupancy cost needs to be floated around 8%.
Okay.
Once you get above 10%, it's very difficult to really make
Uh-huh.
money. So you've got to, so it's important, like when we start looking at areas aside from the density of population,
Yeah.
you know, for specific concepts, based on our sales,
Yeah.
can we achieve occupancy at the 8% mark? Is
Mhm,
that
mhm.
achievable? And then, that kind of checks that box.
So now I have a question related more to your family and your son. Obviously, you love coaching your sons in
Yeah.
baseball. If they came to you when they were 22 years old and said, "Dad, I wanna start a restaurant business, or I wanna come into the restaurant business," what would you tell them at that time?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's a tough one. I think I just pretty much answered it for you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, honestly, I think first and foremost, I want them to have their own paths, right? I want them to put God first in their lives, and trust in that, and then put their families next. And then I want them to, from a business standpoint, and maybe they're not in business, I want them to follow their passion.
Mhm.
My oldest son, I mean, they all love sports, and it's football, baseball right now.
Yeah.
My oldest son loves history, so maybe he ends up being a history teacher.
Wow.
I don't know. My middle son loves 3D printing right now, so maybe
That's so cool.
he's trying to kind of start his own business doing that, so that's fun.
Mhm.
My younger one loves to make people laugh, which I admire and I love. So at the end of the day, I think I want them to follow their passion.
Yeah.
I think I would push them if they wanted to get into the business with me right away. I think I would push them to venture on their own first
Uh,
and have an experience and make sure that uh, that's absolutely what they want to do. When I was younger, I thought I wanted to be in business with my dad in the mushroom business, and so he was a pretty prominent and good businessman in Pennsylvania, and
mushrooms.
mushrooms, yeah, white mushrooms.
Interesting.
And then they got into some of the exotics, but
Mhm.
he was involved in a distribution company. He
Yeah.
had a composting business that he was
Very
owner in, and then he had his own growing business that he was in as well. Um, and he was good at marketing, sales, and was just a good business person,
Yeah.
and a good leader. But um, yeah, as I kind of got through college, I worked for him in the summers, and
Experience. Yeah.
yeah, I started to kind of try some different things, and I'm sure he would have loved if I had continued on that path, but it just didn't work out that way. So, I don't have any expectations of that. I think I want to make sure that they've got a good foundation,
Yeah.
so that they can do the things in their lives that they want to do, and what God calls them to do.
I love that. I love that. Now, I have a question about growth and your strategy for pushing growth. Obviously, you're very good at sales, marketing. You built a very strong brand. You're looking for growth in different aspects of the business. What made you decide to bring on a partner like us,
Yep.
GrabSync, to help you push catering orders, that side, instead of doing it in-house yourself?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we're always looking, and I think the holy grail within our industry and well, pretty much any business is sales, right? You've got to be able to drive sales in order to generate more profit. And again, I go back to our margins are getting tough, cost of goods are going up, so we've got to continue to drive sales.
Yes.
Um, we had looked at a number of different ways to do that, and obviously, I've been really intrigued by AI automation and all the Claude Code stuff, and I've been playing around with a lot of that lately.
You're
And
very good yourself as well, by the way.
thank
I wanted to
you.
say that.
Yeah.
Very impressive. Can build end-to-end automations, host railway deploy. This guy's an expert. He's very
Yeah,
humble.
I don't know about an expert, but I definitely have it takes away from some of the other time that I had because you go down a rabbit hole with it.
Yes.
But I think I've gotten to a point I wanted to really understand AI and understand. Everybody says kind of AI is this, but I wanted to really understand how we could apply it within our business, and I wanted to make sure I could speak the language.
Yes.
But then once I got to that point, I knew that I can't focus and I can't spend all my time in the work and doing it. And gratefully and thankfully, we found you guys who are really good at it. And so we can have a conversation about what we're doing. I can understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have brought tremendous value and great ideas to the table, and it allows us to really have that partnership and see the growth happen.
Yeah.
I think everybody says like we're in like the first half inning of this AI revolution,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, we have to make sure that we have good partners, and you
Yes.
being one of them, that we can understand how to continue to evolve and take advantage of those opportunities. Specifically to catering, it's about reaching out to the right people. And the interesting thing for catering is when we connect with a party that's being catered, sometimes that could be 50 people,
Yeah.
that had never experienced our brand in our restaurant.
Mhm.
I actually think it's one of the best ways for a new restaurant to get the word out.
Really?
Right?
Catering.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we can execute that. We've got these awesome catering boxes,
Yeah.
right? For breakfast. And I feel like, whether it's office meetings or family gatherings or whatever it may be, you get more people that can try the product, and then they have a good experience, and then they come visit the store. So, yeah, thank you. You guys have done a great job, and
I appreciate it.
we're fortunate for the partnership.
And for more to come, obviously.
Yep.
And catering itself, though, you make it seem very easy and simple to do. It's an operational, it requires a lot of operational skill to have catering orders shipped out with making sure food is still hot, like good quality, and covering a certain region and having the kitchen be able to support that. Not every restaurant can do that, though, right?
Mhm.
Catering.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I've got to credit McKenna. She does a fantastic job in terms of leadership,
Yeah.
but also our store level managers,
Mhm.
in a lot of cases, and we've got some great leaders. We've got people that mainly they care, right? And they're accountable. But, a lot of cases with what we do for Broken Yolk and catering, it's early mornings. Sometimes they might not get an order until the day before, and they've got a 6:30 whatever time slot that they have to prepare product for, right, and get it out. So yeah, these are folks that are committed to our brand and are committed to each other and love what they do. They're willing to come in the door in the early morning, put great product together and provide a great experience for our guests. So that's where it comes from.
Absolutely. Awesome. I love it. One last question I always have to ask every entrepreneur, every founder that I speak with and sit down with is, if you were to start all over again, would you have gone the same path and win the same industry as you are right now? Would you have?
At the end of the day, and it's interesting, I could probably really think about this question and make sure
Yeah.
that, because you could go in so many different directions.
For sure.
I think at the end of the day, my answer is yes. I think I have been so blessed and so fortunate along the way with people that have helped me and with people on our team that I get to be with, and do this, on this journey together. And as well, my wife and my family who's there to support as well. It's given me the ability to coach my kids and live that part of my life, which I'm grateful for. So my answer is yes. Now, I think the other piece that I would add to that is, um, having the opportunity to share my value system and purpose
Mhm.
and my faith with others.
Mhm.
I think no matter what I had done, I would have been happy doing. And I think that's the message I would give to anybody is, especially I think the younger generation, and we have a lot of them that work for us,
Mhm.
in our restaurants is follow the things that you love.
Yep.
We get one life,
Oh, yeah.
time is our absolute most precious, asset. And at the end of the day, like, what the question I ask my kids and I'll ask the people, in our restaurants and our leaders,
Yeah.
what will your legacy be? How do you view that?
Wow. Uh-huh.
Because everything else gets left behind,
Right. Yeah.
right? Everything.
That's so true.
So, how are people going to remember the person that you were and how you showed up for them every single day?
Mhm.
So,
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. That's
yep.
great. And obviously, you have some new locations. If people want to support your business, come try things out. Where can they support you? Where can they find
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got the store in Irvine. We've
Mhm.
got Orange, Costa Mesa, Buena Park, and we have the Phoenix location as well. So any of those locations, we've got Carnita Snack Shack down at the Embarcadero.
Beautiful, beautiful, by the way,
Yeah.
guys. Such a beautiful location.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's been a fun one. And then we have the ballpark. We're at
Yeah.
Petco with the Padres. We got 2 locations there at the stadium. Next year we'll be opening up at the airport. So,
Wow. In the airports.
in the airport. Yep.
So I can grab a quick bite, a
Mhm.
breakfast.
Yeah, when
you
you
know.
fly into San Diego, you can have Carnitas.
Wow.
And hopefully much more to come. Hopefully our goal is to try to get 2 deals done this year, and we'll figure out from there what next year
That's so
looks
cool.
like from there.
So if you guys are in any of the locations Mike just mentioned, come try them out. They're amazing.
Yep. Thanks.
See ya.
Yes.